Yep, whenever you're ready.
Hello, everyone. This is Bob Bollinger from Johns Hopkins University again, the director of the SMART for TB Capacity Strengthening program. And again, I'd like to welcome you all to the Early Stage Investigator Training and Mentorship Program. And in this session, I'll be providing an overview of that program and some of the expectations that I'm sure you have questions about for this program. We'll be describing the key objectives of this program. I'll talk about the 4 phases of the program and focus on the eligibility and selection process, the timelines, the faculty, key deliverables, and methods. And I'll spend a little more time talking about this phase, which is phase 1, and describe the curriculum, faculty, metrics, and the benefits of this phase. And at the end, talk about some of the resources that are available to help support you as you go through phase 1 of this program. So the overall objective for the ESI Training and Mentorship Program for SMART for TB is for those of you who go through this program to be able to design, develop, submit, and to lead your own research studies. We really want all of you to develop the skills and the competencies to do that. We want you also to, if you complete all 4 phases of this program, we hope and expect that you will first author and your own peer-reviewed publications. You will also hopefully become engaged as a leader of SMART for TB, as well as become ultimately a leader in your own countries, as well as perhaps other organizations, and become mentors yourselves. This is particularly in phases 2 through 4, in a very intensive mentorship program. And hopefully not only will you benefit from that support, but you'll become the mentors of the next generation of early stage investigators and TB researchers. So as I mentioned, this program has 4 phases. This first phase is the core training. And all of you are now part of this program. If you're part of this program, you are a SMART for TB scholar. And that's a 10-week program. I'll describe in more detail in a moment. The subsequent phases 2 through 4 are what we're calling the fellowship program, or the fellowship components. And they include phase 2, which is to focus on developing a research proposal, as well as phase 3, which is implementation of your study, and then followed by an analysis and result sharing phase. And you can see the estimates of the time for each of those phases. So a little bit more detail about the eligibility. You're all in the phase 1 core training program. So you've qualified already, and you're here because you've had 10 years or less since your last degree, or are new to TB research, that you're based in a country that's prepared to be part of SMART for TB, or an institution that's going to be conducting SMART for TB research. You've got support from one of your local leaders, and then USAID approval for your participation. To transition after this core phase to phase 2, you obviously will need to complete all of the requirements for phase 1, which we'll talk about in a moment. You'll have to submit a research concept sheet, which you'll be working on in phase 1, but that'll be submitted as part of your application to phase 2. And you're going to need to identify and get a letter of support from a local mentor who's going to help you with that very specific research project. Applicants will then be ranked by our training and mentorship committee and an executive committee. I'll say more about that in a moment. And again, require USAID approval to transition to phase 2. Those who are successful at developing a research proposal, a full proposal in phase 2, and submitting it for funding and getting it approved, would then be eligible to go on to phase 3. And then finally, after completion of the study, you'll get support and mentorship to help you with the analysis, publications, and result sharing as part of that phase 4 of the program. So again, this is just a summary, again, of what I said. On the left, you can see phase 1, which is where we are now, a core training program lasting approximately 10 weeks. This isn't going to be all online with a variety of components to it, which I'll describe again in a moment. And then the fellowship program in green, phases 2, 3, and 4, you can see there. You'll note that we anticipate that the end of phase 2, in order to move to phase 3, the grants that you develop and proposals you develop during phase 2 would hopefully be funded and then implemented in phase 3. And you can see for that those phases 2 through 4, it's an intensive program with 2-to-1 mentorship. You'll have a local and a Smart for TB co-mentors for that entire program. It's going to use hybrid methodologies. That's going to include online courses, webinars, journal clubs, presentations, as well as annual face-to-face writing workshops. We are also setting up a strategic technical consultation service because we really are expecting a wide range in types of proposals for research from this group. And so we've got experts lined up that can help support any number of different projects, including epidemiologists, biostatisticians, lab experts, ethics and community engagement experts, et cetera, which will help optimize the protocol and implementation phases. We currently have plans for 2 cohorts. You all are enrolled in this first cohort, which we expect to be completed by the end of September. And then an opportunity soon after that for those that are interested to apply to progress on to phase 2. And then we'll be enrolling a second cohort as well over the next year to follow the very similar process. That you can see that the timelines, particularly for study implementation and analysis, are overlapping because we expect a wide range in scope of different projects. And so there could be staggered implementation of these different phases, depending on the kind of project you're interested in. So this is a summary of the organizational chart for Smart for TB and how this project fits within that. In blue, you can see at the top, there's an executive committee for Smart for TB with Drs. Richard Chason and Dr. Payam Naid as the co-PIs. Andrea DeLuca is the project manager, project leader, and a variety of other partners that were represented from the institutions in the session that I first showed you from the 5 partners that are representation in the executive committee. As I mentioned in the prior presentation, there are 7 scientific areas, or technical areas, I should say. 1 through 5 are the scientific areas that we mentioned, and then community engagement is TA7. TA6 fits under that. Capacity strengthening has a core team. Myself and Dr. Andrea Ruff are the co-directors, and there are a number of partners who help support the core team from the various institutions that are part of Smart for TB. There is a separate Smart for TB early stage investigator training and mentorship committee. I'll show you them in a moment, led by Dr. Phil Hopewell. And then there's the implementation team for this activity, which includes myself, Mary Talalay, and the core faculty. And we'll talk more about the details of those in a moment. The selection process, so you just went through this first phase where you applied. There was an initial TA6 review, and then the applications were sent on to USAID for approval. Those who were successful at that stage are now a part of phase 1 and considered Smart for TB scholars. Those that want to transition further to phase 2, as I mentioned, have an application process after an initial review by the TA6 group. The training and mentorship committee will do a ranking that will also be reviewed by the executive committee and then subject to the final approval of the USAID team. These are the members of the current training and mentorship committee, Dr. Phil Hopewell up on the top left, as well as the other 3 members who are providing us great technical support and will be reviewing the progress of this program. For phase 1, which is the current phase that we're in, as I mentioned, I'm the course director, and Mary Talalay is the program coordinator. And you can see under the list of course faculty, we have an excellent group of faculty who are providing content and will be supporting you through this phase. Again, I want to review the deliverables, what we expect people to accomplish. I'll say more in detail about phase one, but I want to just give an overview. For phase one, the two key deliverables will be a group presentation of the country entity research priorities, as well as submission of your own individual research concept, which will be a 2 to 3 page document. In phase two, if you're successful to getting into phase two and apply for that, a key deliverable will be the development and submission of a full research proposal, taking that research concept developed in phase one and developing a full research proposal. Phase three is then study implementation, presuming that application, that full proposal is submitted for funding and is implemented. You'll be supported with that implementation phase through phase three. And finally, as I've mentioned before, analysis and publication. For each of the phases 2 through 3, 2, 3, and 4, it's really important that we also demonstrate consistent community stakeholder engagement with all three phases, and so that'll be a key deliverable for those phases as well. The methods, as I've previously described, will be primarily online, live, and recorded sessions and discussion forums for this phase, and then a hybrid approach for the subsequent phases. The curriculum for this phase one is highlighted and summarized here. You can see the topics that we'll be covering during this first phase, and I've highlighted in red the two key deliverables. Under the session focused on aligning research projects with national TB plans, each group from individual countries will be asked to work together and create a group presentation on your own national TB plans, where we'll have an opportunity through a live webinar to present and discuss and compare the national TB plans between the different countries participating in Smart for TB. And then finally, an individual research concept will be a key deliverable for each of you at the end of this phase one. So I want to just summarize again some requirements, but more importantly, focus on some reasons why you may want to continue to participate in this first phase. As I said, the requirements for completing phase one include the group presentation and the concept proposal, but also we'll have assessments for the webinars that you'll need to complete. You'll also have to participate and view all of the presentations, and we'll be tracking that through the learning management system. And also a key deliverable requirement really is a documentation of good clinical practice training. Now many of you have probably already accomplished that, but we want to make sure you're up to date within the last 2 years, and just require you to submit a certificate or documentation that you've had GCP training in the last 2 years. If you haven't, we'll provide you with opportunities and resources to get that accomplished as well over the next 10 weeks. So why should you really participate in this program, particularly in phase one? Well, we hope that you'll do it because it'll make you eligible for the phase 2, 3, and 4 programs, which are going to really be exciting and allow you to really implement your own research program. But you also, at the end of phase one, have your own research concept, hopefully align with your own national TB priorities that you could use for other purposes as well. Each of these concepts that are submitted, we're going to give you post-course feedback from the Smart for TB faculty to help you optimize and improve your research concepts, so that if you're interested in applying for phase two or applying that research concept for funding elsewhere or another program, you'll get some feedback about it, and then hopefully you'll be able to optimize it. We hope that this phase one activity will help you learn much more about the Smart for TB program, and get you interested in staying engaged, not just in this particular training program, but in the research overall that's going to be taking place in your countries and in your institutions. We really hope it's also an opportunity for you to network and collaborate with each other. And we are really looking at this as a cohort of like-minded colleagues, and we hope that helps you learn perhaps to collaborate in the future with each other on Smart for TB and other TB research opportunities. And then finally, there'll be a certificate of completion for those that complete the program and all the requirements. I just want to give a few more details about these key deliverables that we talked about for phase one. One on the left is the discussion of the research priorities in the presentation. It's going to be a group project. We'll give you a template for 3 to 4 slides where you'll be asked to describe an overview of your NTP program and services, the population served, some of the perhaps key program outcomes from your NTP program, some of the major challenges that you feel are facing the NTP program. But we also want to help you identify the NTP research priorities for your own country, because it's key for the success of Smart for TB and any TB research program is that the research proposed is aligned with your national TB program priorities. And then we'll also ask you finally to give us some summary of some recent key research outcomes that have resulted from the NTP program. The deliverable on the right is your own individual research concept paper. It's a 2 to 3 page document, and we'll give you a template for that as well. And there are the 9 areas we expect you to address for that concept paper are listed there. And we'll be working with you throughout this the next 10 weeks to help you prepare for the submission of that document. So again, as you think about that concept proposal, thinking about the scope of that program, and if possible, aligning your concept proposal with national TB research priorities and the Smart for TB research priorities, which I described in the prior session, will be focused on initially on diagnostics and therapeutics. And we really expect a lot of what you propose to be particularly aligned with some of the agenda of the implementation science group. But it's also important for you as you go through this process in phase one, if you're interested in going to phase two, is begin to think about not only what research projects you're interested in pursuing, but try to identify local research mentors in your own institutions, in your own country, who could serve and be willing to serve as a research mentor for your research project if you're interested in moving on to phase two. So in conclusion, welcome again to phase one of the Smart for TB Early Stage Investigator Training and Mentorship Program. If you have any questions at any time, please contact Mary Talalay, who's the program coordinator, and her information and contact is available on the Learning Management site. Mary will also be setting up a frequently asked questions section, which we'd encourage you to check, because I'm sure if you have questions, there'll be others who have similar questions about the program, and that might be a one-stop shop for you to get answers. There will be a discussion forum, overall discussion forum for this phase that will be monitored. So if you have questions, you can post them there. Questions for the faculty, questions for me or Mary, certainly post them there. And then when for the session focused on the NTP project presentation, we'll be setting up country-specific discussion forums where you can all collaborate, work together in creating those 3 to 4 slides. And then you can then select 1 or 2 representatives of your group to present, discuss them at the webinar that we'll be hosting. And then finally, I'll be setting up regular office hours for any of you that have questions, and I'll also be trying to engage other faculty to support those office hours as well, and they'll also be listed on the learning management system. So with that, I want to thank you very much again for your interest and look forward to meeting you all during this phase of the program.